And as I was saying, and to all Americans, whether you are Republican, Democrat, Independent, Conservative, or Liberal, or you have no label whatsoever, it makes no difference. Our movement, it belongs to you. It belongs to our country. It belongs to our country. And together, in just 1 month, we are going to usher in a new golden age of American security, prosperity, sovereignty, and freedom for our citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed.
So that's one thing that Kamala Harris wants to do. $20,000 to 1 million people, that's forgivable loan. Okay. Another thing she wants to do is increase child care credit. That one I think Donald Trump is even on board with. I think that is doable and popular enough that no matter who is president, that will happen, and it would happen even if they didn't promise it. You know, child care tax credits go up all the time. So I don't have a problem with that. I think it's fine. You know, it is more money being pumped in, but that's why you need a good, strong economic plan like Donald Trump has to create additional revenue to pay for all of that. Okay. So, and then there's the $20,000 to buy a house. There's also a $50,000 credit to people starting a new business, in addition to a $20,000 forgivable loan. So again, these things are just, again, pumping more and more money into the economy, and there doesn't seem to be a way to sustain that kind of influx of cash. We've already had a lot of inflation these last few years because of all the government spending. So if her solution is let's spend more, that is something that is just, quite frankly, not helpful to the economy, and it's going to get us into even more trouble, because I don't see where now people have asked her, interviewers like 60 Minutes have asked Kamala, well, how are you going to pay for all this stuff? And she's saying, well, we're going to ask the rich to pay their fair share, and we're going to increase taxes on the rich. The problem with that statement is that, first of all, the rich pay most of the income tax already, quite frankly. But asking them to quote unquote pay their fair share sounds like, again, baiting the average person to thinking that they don't pay their fair share. Of course, are there quote unquote tax loopholes? Yes, there are tax loopholes in the sense that the tax law is written a certain way for the purpose of allowing people to keep most of their money. That is the point of it. So it's not using the word loophole is kind of disingenuous, because these are tax policies put in place by the IRS in order to allow people to keep their own money as much as possible. Tax evasion is illegal, but tax avoidance is perfectly legal and is even encouraged, in the sense that it's your money. You're supposed to be keeping as much of it as possible, and the government, in turn, when they take their money, they should only take the bare minimum, and not every project that comes into their brain and finance it with our money, because there's no end to the ideas that government has of taking our money. That's what they spend a lot of their time on, how to keep finding ways to pick our pockets. So it makes more sense to have a tax code that allows people to keep most of their money. So another policy, another tax proposal of Kamala Harris and even Joe Biden is the so-called wealth tax. the tax on unrealized capital gains. That would have such a destabilizing influence on the American stock market that it would affect all of us. Because what the tax on unrealized capital gains is she's saying for people who make $100 million or more, you have to pay, I think it was 25% of your unrealized capital gains, which means if you own stock and it went up in value, even if you didn't sell it, you have to pay tax on that money, that increase, as if you did sell it. Which is crazy. Beyond the bookkeeping nightmare of that, it's just crazy to tax people on money that they don't actually have, that they haven't actually received. It doesn't make sense. It's not a good policy. And again, it would cause a lot of chaos and turmoil within the stock market, because people would be very wary about investing in the stock market under those conditions. Of course, people still would, but it would be just another headache for them to consider if they want to invest in the stock market. And a healthy stock market is very necessary for a healthy economy. And a stock market where people are putting in and pulling out their money to avoid the wealth tax will have an overall negative effect on the stock market, and that affects everybody. Even if you think you're not affected by the stock market, you are. Because if you work for a company and you are in their retirement plan, their 401k, or if you have your own retirement plan, your own IRA, that money is invested in the stock market. So when the stock market goes down, the value of your retirement account goes down. How is that good? So you're going to have all these rich people putting in their money and pulling it out and having all these strategies to avoid the wealth tax. That is going to cause a lot of fluctuation and a lot of uncertainty in the stock market. That will affect you. And they can make big moves in the stock market that the average person can't. And that will affect everybody. So a chaotic stock market is not good for this country. And that is what the effect of Kamala's proposal would be. I think it's all, quite frankly, very cynical, because she keeps proposing things that she knows could never actually be passed by Congress. And so all she can do is say, well, I have all these wonderful proposals, but Congress keeps not bringing the bill to my desk. Congress keeps not even discussing it on the floor of Congress. That's because these proposals are stupid. And she knows, I have to feel that on some level she knows that there's no chance of this passing. But again, maybe she's trying to put pressure on Congress by calling them out like it's their fault if they don't pass her crazy proposals. So she can win that way by sort of guilt tripping them, or making them, or putting all the blame on them. But if somebody proposes something stupid, something that won't work, then Congress should stand up against that. Congress should stand up against that and fight against that with everything they can. So I don't see her proposals doing anything except creating more chaos and division in this country. And sometimes, you know what? When you're a radical, when you want to make change, that's what you do. You create chaos, confusion, and turmoil and unrest, and have it spill out onto the streets, and then all of a sudden the government is forced to quell all of that chaos and confusion by passing your crazy proposals.